Hello, hi everyone. Welcome back to Woo Can Cook. My name is Wesley, and this is a show where we are slowly cooking our way through all of the food from my childhood. Today we're diving back into our series dedicated to Korean comfort food classics with a shot at a stone pot variation of one of my very favorite Korean barbecue dishes of all time, which is the Dolsot Bibimbap. For those unfamiliar, a bibimbap is a Korean rice bowl dish served with a number of vegetable sides. Today that's going to be some bean sprouts, kimchi, and pickled daikon, and most prominently features a thinly sliced steak known as bulgogi. Not too long ago, some may recall that we also did a simpler version of this dish served in a normal ceramic bowl, but today I finally managed to locate my dolsot, which is one of these heavy stone bowls made of, you guessed it, stone. You may also come across dolsots made of clay or sometimes cast iron, but the most important bit to note here is that our dolsot has the capacity for extremely high heat retention, making it perfect for those restaurant-style sizzling plates that you've probably seen the waitstaff very precariously carrying in Korean barbecue restaurants. This means that we're going to be preheating our pot, then plating our bibimbap inside of it, and then serving immediately for a crispy, crunchy rice texture that is essentially still cooking on the table. Finally, no bibimbap is ever complete without a sunny-side up fried egg, which of course means that we're going to be doing a lacy wok fried egg today for the crispiest fried egg that you will literally ever create. Okay, so let's get into it. Okay, so kicking things off here first, I'm starting off with some aromatic veggies, which you'll notice we are doubling today as they are appearing in both our marinade as well as our bibimbap sauce. This is 8 cloves of crushed and minced garlic, followed by 2 inches or about 2 tablespoons of finely minced ginger, separated once again into 2 sets, more on this in a moment. Then next, moving on to our sides. Now, a bibimbap can be plated with any number of fun and wonderful veggies to accompany our bulgogi beef. Some of my favorites are things like spinach, bean sprouts, pickled cucumber, or shiitake mushrooms. For our version today, though, we're going with a few pantry staples. This is some sweet pickled daikon that we're slicing into a julienne, followed by about 4 to 6 ounces of fresh bean sprouts. We're serving these up raw today for a nice crisp addition, so I'm just giving these a quick rinse under cold water to help bring back some of their springiness. Next up, moving on to our steak. This is some flank steak that I'm going with today, but tenderloin, skirt steak, or top-cut sirloin would all be acceptable options in my book too. In any case, whatever it is that you do choose to go with, what's most important here is that all of these cuts are very tough and chewy bites of steak, so we're taking some pretty extensive steps to help tenderize this stuff before we cook it up. This starts off first with how we go about slicing the steak. You'll notice that I'm paying very close attention to the direction of the grain of our beef, going out of my way to slice against the grain as much as I possibly can. Ideally, we're also looking for razor-thin slices of beef here, so take some time to really get your slices as thin as you can. Then last up, finally, to round this all off, I'm taking a bit of technique from Chinese flank steak recipes like Mongolian beef or broccoli beef, and doing a bit of velveting to use some food science to help us get a more tender piece of beef. I've got half a teaspoon of baking soda here that I'm combining in about a 1/4 cup of water. Then I'm combining this with my steak and letting it rest for 30 minutes, during which time the alkaline in our baking soda is going to start breaking down some of the protein bonds in our steak. Science. While our baking soda gets to work, I'm putting together my marinade here next. This is 4 tablespoons of soy sauce to start, followed by a single tablespoon of dark soy sauce for some richness. Then next, rounding out our liquids is 2 tablespoons of sesame oil and a single tablespoon of brown sugar. Finally, rounding out our marinade, a bulgogi marinade iconically must feature an Asian pear, which we're going to grate until essentially pureed. This is going to introduce a lot of those naturally occurring sugars to our marinade, and is also where the iconic sweet and savory quality of bulgogi beef comes from as well. Next, circling back to our steak, I'm first going to drain off as much of this residual baking soda as I can. Unactivated baking soda can leave a metallic taste behind, so for thoroughness, I actually went ahead and just rinsed off the steak under cold water too. Just keep in mind that we are also handling raw meat, so try not to let it splash too much. Finally, I'm adding my marinade to my steak, followed by my grated Asian pear and our first set of garlic and ginger going in. Then I'm mixing this all to combine and setting it aside for another 30 minutes while we put together our bibimbap sauce next. Alright, so for those that have ordered this dish in restaurants before, a bibimbap sauce would be the red sauce that you probably got on the side, likely in a squeeze bottle. No, that was not ketchup. Going into my mixing bowl here first is 4 tablespoons of soy sauce to start, followed by 2 tablespoons of fish sauce and an optional 4 tablespoons or a 1/4 cup of kimchi brine. Now, I say optional here because depending on how old your kimchi is, you may or may not be able to get much brine out of your kimchi jar. If which this is the case, then that fish sauce will do plenty enough to carry your fishy umami today. Rounding this all out is going to be a single tablespoon of sesame oil, and finally the main ingredient, 3 tablespoons of Korean chili paste or gochujang. This is what's going to give our sauce that deeply red color today. Last up, I'm rounding this out with my second set of garlic and ginger going in, then I'm whisking this all up until that gochujang starts to break down into a smooth sauce. Over on the stove, we're diving into our bulgogi next. Now, I've mentioned this in a few videos now, but a bulgogi is iconically cooked over an open flame on a barbecue grill. For those in residential kitchens, however, I find that a wok sear is the best way to emulate the smokiness of that open flame cook. So, I have my wok heating up here as hot as possible, then I'm adding in 4 tablespoons of peanut oil, and as always, long yao for that nice non-stick surface. Then next I'm adding in my steak about 10 to 15 pieces at a time, being careful not to overload the wok, and letting this sear for 2 minutes before tossing for an additional minute. I'm repeating this all with my remaining steak. If you've got a high BTU stove, you might be able to do this in 2 to 3 batches, but on my home range, this took me something like 5 to 6 batches altogether, so settle in and get comfortable. Finally, last up, no bibimbap is complete without a fried egg to top it off. I've reheated my wok here, then I'm adding in another 4 tablespoons of peanut oil and giving 1 more long yao. You'll notice in our round bottom wok that our oil begins to pool up here at its center, where the wok rounds off. This of course makes for a fantastic opportunity to shallow fry an egg, so I'm adding my egg right to the center here plus a pinch of kosher salt, and you'll notice that the egg is essentially submerged in oil, creating the laciest, puffiest, and crispiest fried egg that you will ever create. I'm spooning a little bit of oil over my yolk to get it to set a bit, then finally removing so that we can get to plating our dolsot next. Back over on the cutting board, I've had my dolsot preheating in the oven for about 30 minutes at a fairly hot 450 degree F temperature now, so this thing should be pretty ripping hot at this point. Then now what we should be doing here first is adding a layer of oil to the bowl, which I forgot to do on camera, but you should definitely do for yourselves though. Then next, here's my rice going in first, followed next by my bulgogi beef, then our pickled daikon, some fresh bean sprouts, and finally a healthy serving of kimchi. Last up, I'm rounding this all off with a few spoonfuls of bibimbap sauce, followed by my fried egg and a pinch of sesame seed to finish, and we're ready to eat. Okay, so those that have been following along with this channel may recall that we absolutely did do a bibimbap sometime last year, which to my dismay we had to serve in a boring old ceramic bowl because I could not for the life of me find my dolsot. Also, for what it's worth, at that time I did absolutely try and recreate the crispy qualities of the dolsot in a cast iron skillet, but alas, there simply is no replacing the majesty of serving a literally sizzling hot bowl of rice straight to the table. There's really just nothing that you can do in a skillet to recreate this, I'm sorry. Presentation aside though, since our dolsot was absolutely ripping hot out of the oven when we added the rice, it causes the bottom layer to start crisping up to create a crispy fried texture to the rice that, in my opinion, is absolutely the best part of a bibimbap. Then our bulgogi is sweet and savory with some nice crisped edges to it, thanks to what is rapidly becoming my very favorite bulgogi recipe for home range cooking. Finally, I'll say this one more time, but if you have never fried an egg in a wok before, you're missing out on one of my very favorite culinary techniques of all time. There really is no better way of cooking a high-heat, crispy fried egg. Okay, so that's it everyone. I hope you enjoyed this and I hope you give this one a shot. For those who are new to the channel, this one is part of a larger series dedicated to classic Korean dishes, so definitely check out that series next if you haven't yet because there's a lot of these. For the Bay Area locals, the Woo Can Cook Fried Rice Pop-Up is back at Two Pitchers Brewing in Oakland this weekend, so come by and say hi if you can. More about that at woocancook.com/eats. As always, like, comment, subscribe, share, be nice interneters, and I'll see you soon.